crypto bear market boring? You and I are here. We're living through it. It's incredibly boring, but there's still a few things going on that actually are probably foundationally important to the macro cycles, the things that we're living through, the things that we're waiting to happen. This is a Bitcoin chart. We're going to kind of dive into this a little bit, integrate it throughout this video. We're going to look at an ADA chart on the daily, something happening right now in the daily chart with this new candle opening next 24 hours. I would say important. I want to show you what I'm watching over the next 24 hours, why I think it's important. And there's also some Ripple SEC news that I want to discuss that is not only important just for Ripple XRP, but for the crypto space in general. Here's the Bitcoin news. Just in, there are now 1 million addresses that hold one full Bitcoin. That's not to say it's 1 million people. We know that one person can hold multiple addresses, but a big piece of data, 1 million addresses that hold one full Bitcoin or more. So one thing I want to point out before we actually dig into the data here, this is a website. I don't know if they're pulling from Glassnode or not, but they're saying 957,000 or so addresses. So I'm not sure if it's at 1 million yet, because I'm not finding any news articles on this just yet, or if it's at like 950 something. Either way, it's close and it's happening, right? It really seems like it's happening. But I want to tie this into the Bitcoin charts and the story of these cycles. And just one thing to note on this is if you go back here, number one, you can just see the growth of this orange line, the addresses, right? You see the growth of blockchain or Bitcoin. And you go back to the last bear market, which is kind of a reflection of kind of where we are right now. And you see at the bottom of the last bear market, 695,000 or so. But what's interesting to me is you see this dip that happened in the bear market, the last bear market. Now, if you look, and it's especially with the fall of Bitcoin, that capitulation, if you look now and take a note, the fact that Bitcoin is more expensive than then too. This was around $3,500 Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin is around $17,000. And if you look at this bear market, even with capitulation events, you see in black, Bitcoin falling, look at the rise of Bitcoin addresses. I mean, since just the beginning of the year around January, sitting at 800,000 addresses, and look at the rise, even most recently going parabolic. This says a lot in terms of what's happening in this fear environment right now, as many people out there calling for crypto to be over, the death of crypto, the death of Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it. Many people saying that the fear is out there. And the reason it's so significant, it doesn't matter, everybody, if you hold Bitcoin or if you hold altcoins. If you only hold altcoins, this data is important. Bitcoin has the most data in terms of blockchain, charting data, as well as on-chain metrics. So if you're looking for any type of roadmap to help navigate through the crypto space, to help navigate through crypto cycles, you have Bitcoin charts, you have Bitcoin on-chain metrics, you have way more data compared to a lot of altcoins. So it helps gauge cycles, cycle shifts, momentum. It helps gauge all of these things. So when we look at Bitcoin right now, we do have just the growth of addresses. That's good. It's kind of a signifier that people are accumulating Bitcoin even in the fear, even with potentially new lows that are, I think, likely to happen. But put that aside, you zoom out on the charts and it's just, all the data starts coming together. We're right in between these halvings. We're starting to really reflect previous bear market lows, namely these retracements to the 786 line and below, that yellow line. It's happening right now. And then you have things like the piece of data we talked about, I think last week, over 50% of Bitcoin holders at a loss, right? That's something that's significant. That's something that kind of shows the type of thing that happens in bear market lows. So all of these things coming together, and whether or not it's 950,000 addresses or 1 million addresses, Bitcoin is growing. The space is growing, even in the fear, even in the bear market. And I think that's very significant. We shift over to Cardano ADA. We're going to look at this daily chart. One thing I want to note though, I said, it's probably in the title or something, there's a challenge in store or a challenge ahead for Cardano. It's not the charts. There's always challenges on these crypto charts, that's for sure. But this is what I was talking about. I tweeted earlier, I said, projects are leaving Solana. I know of one moving to Polygon. They looked at Cardano but passed. So a project leaving Solana, and we always say it as Cardano holders, if Solana projects and Solana people only knew, Cardano doesn't go offline. That's great. It sounds great, right? But guess what? Not everybody's choosing Cardano, even if they are leaving Solana. There's other competition. There's other things that are drawing attention that Cardano's not. And I see it firsthand. I run a recruiting firm. This is literally what I've seen firsthand. My guess is that this isn't the only one. We need to start asking tough questions to define what is necessary for Cardano to draw innovation towards it. Now that the infrastructure and the systems are built so much better and scalability is in play now, right? And we have smart contracts now and all of these things kind of coming together, it's time to start asking right questions. It's time to start asking questions and to focus. And I say that just as somebody that's in the community, just like you. Instead of us kind of just going around just saying, hey, Cardano's the best because we just think it has the best security and scalability features. Instead of doing all of that, it's time to take a realistic approach and say, okay, in the real world, are projects attracted to Cardano? And if they're not, why? And if they're not, what do we have to do? What does the community have to do? What does the technology have to do? What does it need to have? Those are good questions to ask. Having a challenge is not a bad thing. So me saying Cardano has a challenge ahead of it is not a bad thing. Any startup has a challenge. Every person has challenges. It's a matter of overcoming them and tackling them with focus. So Mike Alfred, he tweeted a reply and he said, tweets like this make me paradoxically more bullish. I saw absolutely none of this from Cardano supporters during the bull market. Clear-eyed and tempered analysis of ADA's competitive differentiation or lack thereof. Super healthy, well done, he said. And what is funny, he says the tweet makes him paradoxically more bullish because it is he kind of contradicts himself a little bit in that he's saying he's bullish, but yet if you've seen some of his tweets, I don't think he's the biggest fan of Cardano. So it is kind of funny, but he's right. We need to be clear-eyed and have tempered analysis of Cardano and the growth. The community can't walk around, and this is I'm going to start challenging more. As somebody that creates Cardano content, it's obviously my favorite crypto. I'm obviously a huge supporter. I love the community. I've got to know so many people in the community. There's builders everywhere. There's some of the smartest people in the space here. But it's good to ask tough questions. It's good to just figure things out in a more realistic approach than we don't want to be seen as a community, and this is my opinion, as this community that highbrows their way around, when they're getting attacked. Because Cardano gets attacked, let's face it. But we can't highbrow our way through this. We have to prove the technology, and the technology has to prove itself. And we have to allow that to happen, and we have to do it with confidence and positivity and optimism. And if there are things that need to be fixed, we fix them. And I'm not just saying from a technical perspective, I'm just saying from every perspective. There's so many nuances to this. But what I want to say is, it's easy to sit back, and especially when we're on the defensive on crypto Twitter and YouTube and stuff, it's easy to sit back, and the VCs hate us and all this stuff. And it's easy to sit back and just say, hey, you know what? We're solving the trilemma. We've got the best technology. People just don't get it. They don't see it. It's easy just to sit back and kind of take that lazy route, but it's not time for that anymore, right? It's time to kind of take a little bit more action, I would say. And I replied to Mike. I said, it's definitely time to start asking the right questions and finding solutions to challenges faced. It's the only way Cardano can thrive like I think it will. Now, I think a lot of people will disagree with me, and that's fine, but this is just what I'm seeing. Because especially, it became real to me, especially firsthand, when this just happened. One of my clients was building on Solana, rightfully so, deciding to no longer do that, and they're aware of Cardano, but they passed on it. And my question is just why? And what could be different for that not to happen? What could be different? And how much time will it take? How much more building will it take? What kind of messaging will it take? And so I wanted to bring that up, and I think it's important to discuss these things. But this is ADA on the daily chart, and this is what I really want to discuss because we've been discussing it in previous videos. This is the daily. If we go to the MACD, You know what we spotted most recently? It's the MACD line, that blue line crossing the signal line. And this was like right around November 26th or so, almost a week ago, this happening. Oftentimes when this has happened, it's been a pretty bullish move for ADA, even just in the short term. I'm not saying it's like a cycle shift or something like that, but usually a pump, right? If you go back and you look at every time this happened, the caution that we've been focused on is kind of this outlier right here, which especially in a bear market, I think is probably increasingly more possible. So meaning the outlier is the fact that we got a MACD crossing, but it didn't ultimately lead to an immediate bullish move, right? Because you could see the consolidation and the struggle of ADA until right here. And then there was the final nice move. So we want to be careful. Just getting a MACD cross doesn't mean it's something amazing about to happen. But let's dissect now why I think the next 24 hours are important. And I could be wrong. I mean, especially right now, it's just crypto is so boring. The charts are so sideways. But when all this was happening, and I want to just draw your attention back here because we're going to compare right now to what's going on the ADA charts. But when that was happening was when we were having the bullish cross, right? The caution comes from, all right, you're getting a bullish, let me get rid of this. You're getting a bullish MACD cross, but then you're getting 20-day moving average resistance, right? So that's where we started seeing the MACD consolidate and actually ADA put in another lower low before finally getting that breakout on the MACD, as well as breaking the 20-day moving average. So I think what's notable right now is the fact that we got the MACD cross similar to back then, and now ADA is very much at the 20-day moving average. And this is something we've been analyzing and waiting for to see, well, how does ADA respond? How does ADA kind of intermingle with the 20-day moving average? And you can see it was kind of resistance for a couple days there, maybe a few days. And then right now, as I do this video, ADA opened pretty much just above the daily, if you can see that. And that's why there's 23 hours, 11 minutes left of this daily candle. For me, I'm very much watching what happens here, because is ADA going to close this daily candle that just opened? Is it going to close it below or above the 20-day moving average? And if above, will there be even any separation, or is it just going to be at like 32 and a half cents? Because if you look back at that time that we're taking into account to be very careful, you can just see ADA was really just failing and struggling all along that time at the 20-day moving average before finally getting a nice big separation candle from the 20-day moving average. This is the type of daily candle that I think we would need to look out for any type of confirmation on an ADA breakout, obviously. And then the 50-day moving average just above ADA, around 35 cents or so. So that's why in the next 24 hours, I'm very curious to see really what crypto markets do, but what ADA does here on this daily chart. Is there support above the 20-day moving average, literally right around almost 32 cents, but just below 31.8. And that's what I'll be watching. So moving over here, Brad Garlinghouse, I said it on day one, we will aggressively fight to get clear rules for the entire industry in the US. So once again, we talked about this for Bitcoin, what Bitcoin does on the charts, what Bitcoin data is saying, what cycle data is saying, so important to altcoins. Now, on the flip side, what's happening here with this Ripple SEC case, so important to just all of crypto. And I just love how he opened this up. It's just, he's saying they're aggressively fighting to get clear rules. The crypto space needs guidance. It needs a foundation. It needs definition so that projects can keep building and they know how to do it properly and within the right scope. Congrats to all of Team Ripple for getting us to this point. Ripple stood strong and withstood the SEC's onslaught. I look forward to being on the right side of justice. I mean, this is getting close, everybody. The end of all of this, it really is getting close. I think a lot of people might be saying March or something, but speculation aside, after just years of this, it's getting close, and it's so meaningful for the crypto space. I don't think many people outside of just XRP fans paying attention. I think they should be. It's one of the biggest stories in crypto. And then here it is. So this is Stuart over here. He says, this is our final submission where we ask the court to grant judgment in our favor. After 2 long years, Ripple is proud of the defense we've mounted on behalf of the crypto industry. We have always played it straight with the court. Can't say the same for our adversary. So this is extremely long. I'm not going to read through it. One thing I wanted to point out, part of their, part of this paper, the SEC has in any event failed to carry its burden as to each of 3 Howey elements. And much of this is about that. It breaks down why. And to me, and I'm no lawyer, everybody, but to me, it just makes sense what they're saying. And to me, it really does look like, it looks like they're on the right side. It looks like they have such a powerful case, and only time will tell how this plays out. Everybody has mixed opinion on what's going to happen with this case, but I think it's, as of right now at least, positive. And I can't stress this enough. We will aggressively fight to get clear rules for the entire industry in the US. If you're in crypto, I don't know how you can disagree with the technology, and you can say what you want about the technology or reasons why you don't like it, but there's no way, if you're in crypto, that you can just look at this situation and say that it's not meaningful, because it is very meaningful. So we're going to continue tracking this, and it's exciting to track as well. It's exciting for me, just somebody on my crypto journey. So these are my thoughts today, this Friday evening. I appreciate you, everybody. Time to get back with my family. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.